Hi. So, in today's video, I'll be talking to you about Jewish people, and I'll tell you how they enter my book, my very first encounters with Jewish people, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my second job. When working for McDonald's, I wanted to find a second job, and well, it happened, but it didn't last too long. Um, yeah, so if you want to learn more about how, maybe not, maybe not how is not the best word, but if you want to learn how I was discovering that hypnosis, covered hypnosis, can also affect your feelings and your thoughts, just giving you one more example with regards to feelings and romantic relationships. And stay tuned. Yeah, so, I will start with a little bit of a story as usual. And I found a second job, which was giving flyers to the bar in Krakow. And, during that time, I was handling a lot of pressure from the outside environment, like, people pretending to take photos, people sitting on their phones in front of me. It was enough I had their dirty hands from the ink on the train, and somebody kept their photo like this and look at their phone. Well, it's like, well, I have dirty hands, but well, okay. So people walking behind me in big numbers, people staring at me in an aggressive way. It happened too, for nothing, for even not saying a word. Um, so, when I was when I sold the bike, because I was lacking money, I sold the bike. I didn't keep the receipt that I did so, and I didn't keep the entire receipt, just one of the receipts. And then I was scared that somebody would like to frame me into something, or I was creating stories over it. So as I was scared, I went to that fortune teller that actually was Jewish. She was a Jewish girl, but at that time I didn't know about it. And she's the person I trusted when it comes to fortune telling and reading cards. Um, and when she saw me, she got scared, and she opened the window right away, and she took out the phone right away. And I was angry with her because I had enough of the phone, and I wanted the window to be closed, and so on and so on. But I asked my questions. I asked questions about the book, and she told me for guys it's simple and concrete, and for women you would have to change something. And the funny thing is that when I write about witches, I really refer to mainly women, and in my environment there are mainly women. Um, in my families, women outnumber men. Um, and we also talked about, the process of self-publishing and so on. And she told me with the first attempt something wouldn't work out, but with the second one, yeah. And actually, I was left out in the cold by my best friend, who all of a sudden, when I wanted to share it all equally, she told me she could do only just the book cover for 33%. So from the earnings. And I meant, marketing and layout too, because from selling the book, we actually make money. So, um, but the thing is, she was looking at me, looking quite happily in that moment, because I was really in my mind thinking that I wouldn't make it without her, that it wouldn't be possible without her. But in the ending result, I made a book cover I'm really proud of, and I never knew that I could make such a great book cover, and I really like it. So it worked out for me even better. Um, yeah, and my fortune teller, my Jewish fortune teller, told me that I talked too much and she implied in various things, you know, that the papers would be swapped or there would be some confusion in within papers, and it happened just right when I got back home. And that's something I tell you about more in another video. And she was right. If I was about to walk and tell anyone, that my papers got swapped, nobody would believe that. And everybody would say, well, you just missed out on something. You didn't pay attention to something, or you neglected something. This is what we all do. We all use our logical thinking and reason. um, and we don't go any further beyond that. But with meditation, you can just reduce at least the number of um, inappropriate or harmful for you thoughts, and with time you can develop your extrasensory perception too and your intuition. So my fortune teller also told me the thing. She told me that I would be tempted. She didn't say that directly, but she implied that. And she was right, because later the guys at work, on drive-through at McDonald's would come, and I would have a thought, oh, what a lovely man. And then the man whom I used to see actually from Glovo, and I worked with him already and I have seen him, but then all of a sudden I look at him and I think about him, oh, what a lovely man. And I'm in my head thinking, but I have seen him and I didn't have anything about him. I didn't have a thing about him, and this one, at my dad's funeral, I thought about someone from extended family. Oh, what a lovely man. And then like, I didn't know the man, but um, that's kind of weird. Okay. And, I used to date Camille, and I liked his friend more. And I used to date Mati, and then I liked his friend more than him. And then Przemek, and I also liked his friend Darek more than Przemek. So here's the thing, you can go and question yourself and think, okay, so there's something off with me, or you can start believing, oh, I don't get what I want, and so on and so on. But obviously it's done with hypnosis. Your feelings, your thoughts are managed with hypnosis too. So therefore I mentioned meditation. And I think the best example, the very first example for me was when I met Damian. I met him in the village at the dancing party, and she asked me to dance. And and I felt something like something really real. And when he wanted to dance with me again, I got scared, and everybody was looking at me and so on. And I ran down the stairs, and there is one more boy who looked precisely like Damian. He was of similar height, he had no hair, he had dark eyes, he really looked very similar to Damian. And he asked me to go for a walk, and he wanted to kiss. We didn't kiss, but all of a sudden, even I went alone for a walk. Nobody was angry with me, nobody judged me, everybody was happily supportive and so on. And then once we got back from that walk and we didn't kiss, the party was over and we had to go home. So I have to tell you that, I saw Damian 2 more times, and I have to tell you that after the years, I see that I really liked Damian. I didn't like Darek, but I spent that summer thinking about Darek. Oh, when is Darek gonna talk to me? When is Darek gonna notice me? When is Darek gonna, do anything? And he never did. We used to walk to my cousin's friend and go past the Derek's house, and Derek was just looking. So that was just an illusion that I actually had the choice between 2 men, because the second man was most probably the gypsy. And the reason why I tell you this, because it repeated too in a circle. So the very first 2 boys were Damian or Darek. Then there was Camille or Mati. Mati also had extrasensory perception developed. At first I was with Camille and I gave him up for Mati. And then there was Kuba or Przemek. And unfortunately, this is where my fortune teller told me You will choose somebody who will not be able to afford his own beer, who will not be able to pay for his own beer, um, who will maybe not even not be able to, but who will not want to pay for his own beer. So this is what happened. I bought my beer and then he drank my beer and looked at other girls. So I was like, okay. Um, so I chose wrong, and Kuba was Jewish. So um, yeah, with each one of these pairs, I had to choose between the Jewish person or most probably the gypsy one. And there were other boys who tried, like the ticket inspector or the biscuit, the man who called himself the biscuit, and he tried to seduce my sister first so that he could come along, or Kuba, who would come with a lot of girls so that he could approach me. But the way they approached me just showed me that they couldn't approach me in a normal, natural way, but they had to, play some games. So, okay, you see it for yourself. And then, exactly, when I got the job of giving flyers, I got the job from the boss who actually was Jewish, and yet again, I liked him. Um, so Yeah, so when we had the very first meeting, obviously it was the meeting where there was full of shame on my part, because I believe people who have extrasensory perception developed, they can read your thoughts in terms of they can access your Akashic records. So the very first meeting, and my crusty dragons are standing in a way that I cannot look into his eyes. I cannot give him a hand to say hello or goodbye because I have sweaty hands. I think about my yellow teeth and I go through all of them in my mental screen. Or I think about the very first job I had and I think about the toilet. And when he mentions cocktails, then I think about choking. So and when I was leaving the place, I thought, oh, I will not infect you in sex. So this was very, very romantic, as you can see. And then after some time, not after some time, but during my 2 working days, I was channeled a lot. So a lot of people were walking around me and they were looking at me in a not nice way. And during that time, I was going back to my sister's place on the bus, and there were a lot of them on the bus, and I almost lost my contact lens. And I also didn't have, I couldn't use my credit card to buy the ticket because the ticket machine didn't accept the cards. So, it was my old fear of being caught with the fine. I used to ride on buses and trams in Krakow without the ticket, and that was one of my fears, in the past. And also, when I almost lost the contact lens, I also got scared, because that would be a very similar situation to the bus in Holland. Um, but yeah, I survived that. But I quit my job. And when I got back, I don't know, maybe 2 months later, I got back to look for a sponsor. I got back to the same place and I left my book over there. And I have learned that, 2 floors, 2 bars were closed. Um, yeah, sure, there are still 2 more, but there were 4 when I started, and 2 of them were closed. And in my book, I actually write a lot about Holocaust. I include in my book the Jewish story because I lived all my life in a Jewish town, um, from which there was the very first transportation of Jewish people to the death camp from Tarnów. And what I want to tell you here is that the club in Large Stairs that I worked in with the Gypsy people, who wanted to provide me with the very first experience of working in food industry, sell industry. Um, so that bar was closed very quickly, and the other bar where I met the man with no penis, and the other bar where I used to go quite a lot to, um, was actually most of the time empty. There were almost no people there. Finally, it's changed its name to a different name, but it was in the main square of Tarnów. So my impression was it didn't do very well. And there is also the place where you can get pizza, and there is the bar next door to my place. So these are four places I know for sure that belong to the gypsy. So my general impression when just being a student and coming back home from studies on Fridays, I also I used to keep asking myself, like, why is it so empty in the main square? Like, why is it so empty? And very often when I was a teenager and I was going to the bars, I would ask the same question, like, why is it so empty? Well, sure thing that the people in your environment try to provide you with the very same experience. That's one thing. But on the other thing, when I was not related to going to party, clubbing, searching for some excitement and and fun in the clubs and bars out there, I was just coming back from studies every Friday, and it was empty. It's not the only experience, of course, I had with those clubs, but it very often happened. So my conclusion is, as those bars and those blocks of flats after the Second World War happened to be the property of the government, and the government is built of gypsy people too. So my impression is, and my belief is, that those who create illusions for other people, well, all they have for themselves is an illusion itself. And I write about it even more about, the sculpture in the city center that I never looked at except just once for my teacher. And I used to walk there and back on that street because I lived even back then on that street. Um, okay, so if you want to learn more about Jewish people, and I don't know, if you want to learn more about the way the system is built, if you want to learn more about covert hypnosis, symbolism, and gypsy magic, then please drop me a line at lkinga788 at gmail.com to get a free PDF of my book. And if you want to buy my course, Amelia, you will find the link in the description of this video. It's a course about identities of victims of sexual abuse. It's about manipulation, mind games, and control. So it's about the way language, experience, and cultural references found in books, films, shape our personalities. So yeah, till this Friday, the price of the course is $8. So check it out. You will find the info in the description of the film. You will find it on my website, and you will find it on my Instagram account. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you like this video, share it with other people. And thanks for watching.